Hello YouTube, this is Angelos, aka Pure24688, back from the dead to eat brains and make videos. Let's start with the latter. Okay, this is a 2v2 battle me and Synoptic played about 4 months ago on the Waterloo map, primarily designed to show you how to attack on this map. Syno is playing as Great Britain, and much of the fighting will be on his side of the map. I'll explain why in a second. I'm playing as Spain. My build consists of no artillery and only 2 skirmishers, and I've got my force deployed in a double line with line infantry in front and guards behind, 4 of each, with about 6 cavalry, 4 light and 2 heavy. Okay, Syno's build is mainly made up of skirmishers. Now, this map, if anyone's ever played on it, this was pre-patch as well, which made it slightly even more difficult. Pre-patch on Waterloo meant that all 3 of these buildings, which you can see, which I'm marking out, could never be destroyed. Well, you could destroy them, but you'd be there for a long time, and you know, if you fling a cannonball at a flipping farmhouse, you expect it to collapse in a few minutes. You don't want it to just be, you know, stood there for about 2 hours and you've chipped away about 10% of the building. They fixed that in the patch, but like I said, we played this before that happened. So, our opponents are encamped on the ridge along the back. One plays as Prussia, one plays as France. One has 3 howitzers, the other has 3 6-pounder horse art. And like I said, I have no artillery, so I'm relying on Syno's art to do most of the fighting here. And I will support his attack on the left. The reason that all the fighting has to happen on the left is because of this huge ridge that goes on the right side of the attacking team, which completely hinders any sort of movement on that side, which forces you into a bottleneck, into this house which is marked, and my opponents deployed stakes, so that would be a nice death trap if I charged into that. So all of the attacks have to happen on the left side of the ridge. You can see on the mini-map at the right there's like a black line midway through the map. That's completely unscalable, so that completely cuts off that area of the battle. So let's say this was a 4v4, it would be very, very difficult to attack on this against 4 players. Against 2 players it's not so bad. Okay, so here I've used my 2 skirmishers to lure some of the French skirmishers off the hill, because he has 4 to my 2, so he obviously thought he could take a few out. He retreats them into range of that house with his, and also his 6-pounders are covering it with canister shots, so I pull my cav out after dealing about 20 or so losses to the skirmishers. This has been happening for about 15 minutes up to this point. I've just cut it out. Syno, on the other hand, has been trying to destroy the Prussian artillery with his artillery, and has been skirmishing with the Prussian line, constantly harassing and pulling back and harassing and pulling back. By this stage we were just, you know, looking at the entire battlefield, and we were trying to find a weakness in the enemy's line, which we'll find in a minute. Syno pulls back again after a skirmish, but his opponent sees this as him actually pulling back as he's been, you know, defeated or something. You know, he's taken heavy losses, he's pulling back because there's no way he can get up the hill. So the Prussian guy sees this as an opportunity to come off the hill and attack Syno. But all Syno does is he just turns his entire force round, and all the cavalry that the Prussian sends off the hill to try and stop Syno retreating gets massacred by his line. I then send 4 of my cav over to the left, because now this Prussian side is disorganised, because they've come off the hill and attacked, and now they're trying to pull back up the hill to reform. We decide to launch a huge attack on this left side. Syno sends his line up in front, 2 foot guard units, you can see, to engage the Prussian infantry on the hill. He sends a skirmisher unit up mainly as a meat shield, and he also focuses fire onto this line regiment with his 2 howitzers, and then he's going to charge his cavalry in, and I'm going to charge my cavalry in. I'm going to get up onto the hill and behind the entire Prussian line and the French line. This is the key part of the battle here. Now, this replay was corrupted, unfortunately, because it was filmed pre-patch, and when I played it back, there was a few things that were happening that actually didn't happen in the battle, like that being one. Syno wouldn't have shelled his own cavalry for this length of time, so this didn't actually happen. Doesn't really matter, yeah. Yeah, if he did, then good for him. Good for him for not realising he'd blown up half of his own cavalry force, but I assume that was a glitch, because I can't remember that happening. I would have been quite mad if that had actually happened. Okay, so I send one cavalry unit at a time, not to get them bogged down. So while Syno engages that Prussian line, I send my cav up to engage the remnants of the Prussian cavalry force that are on the hill. And then I'm going to sweep round and take out any key targets of opportunity. Those will be other cavalry mainly, and artillery. You can see the Frenchman is also sending his cavalry over to my side of the map as well, because I'm not engaging him in the front, because I've told you that ridge completely blocks my movement up that side. So he's free to send forces over here to attack Syno and myself. So that's fine for the moment, but I'll ensure that isn't a consistent thing, because I'll engage him in the front in a second or so. Okay, so what I do with my superior cav, because I've got superior numbers, not superior quality, he's got the better cav because he's got lances, is I tie the Prussian general up, I tie the French cavalry up, and then I send a unit of my cavalry round and engage his Prussian general. And Syno here, melees that building to get rid of the skirmisher unit inside of a unit of foot guards, which is probably the best way of dealing with buildings. You can stand outside and shoot them if you want, but you're going to take a lot of losses, especially if there's only a skirmisher unit inside. The best course of action is a melee charge, and this is backed up by other line, of course. Okay, so the Prussian general tries to retreat, and I just follow it with some hussars, and then I get it bogged down again, and I think I kill him. It doesn't really matter, because the Prussian army's virtually been destroyed now, because Syno has come out in the front with his line infantry at the same time, with me and him launching hammer and anvil strikes on the rear of the Prussian line at the same time. So while all that's happening, I'm going to ensure that the French guy doesn't send too many forces over to attack Syno. He sent a few two cav, but that's not enough. You can see that those 2 cav have been destroyed, and I'm free to constantly keep harassing the Prussian line, striking them in the rear, striking them when they're not in square. When they're in square, I just run out of the way. So yeah, this is probably the best way to deal with line forces, really. That's fairly obvious. That mass cav charge on that one line probably isn't, because it's going to cause me a few friendly fire losses. Okay, so the French guy turns some of his units to attack Syno, which exposes their left flank to me, and thus I attack his flank as he's attacking Syno's flank, so everyone gets flanked. And yeah, awesome. Over here, this is the area which I said I couldn't scale, but I'm just positioning my forces in this area, very thinned out, because he's got canister shot firing at me, just to distract the French guy while my cav and Syno's army wraps around the flank. And I do that up to a point, and then my guy quits. So fantastic, really. You can tell this is typical AI nonsense, with 2 line just crisscrossing one another in an X formation, and I've just encircled them. So once my guy starts to lose, he just quits. So that's fantastic. The reason I showed this was mainly just to show you how to overcome a static defensive line on this battle, which is to do a huge assault on the left side and then push round the back and then get round to your opponent. But of course, if you're the defending team and you know how to defend properly, all you need to do is just shift forces over to that vulnerability over that side of the map, and then you've virtually got the entire area locked down, because that's the only way you can get up there, unless you do a direct frontal assault. But of course that usually ends in suicide. So here it's just mopping up AI. It's got the AI shooting at one another and running around like headless chickens. That's why I cut a large section of this out, because it wasn't really particularly interesting. So in the end, I actually get bored, and Syno's killed enough, in my opinion. So I just do a melee charge and I cause heavy losses to myself. But it doesn't really matter. Obviously, if this was a human opponent, I wouldn't have really bothered with this. I encircle the house for no reason, and I melee charge this young guard unit that's in front of it with a Spanish sandwich. Guard unit on one side, line unit on the other, and then splat, and they're all dead quite quickly. So yeah, that'll be about the end of it. A huge melee charge ends the battle, and like I said, the replay was corrupted, so there's no end stat screen. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll get back onto the campaign as soon as possible. Yay!